everyone, my name is Anna Schaeffer, and today I'm going to be walking you through a SWOT analysis with an example company. We'll also discuss what you should consider in a SWOT analysis and how you can use a SWOT to better understand your market context, as well as best present your business to others, such as potential investors. A quick overview of what a SWOT analysis is. It's an analysis of your business and its environment broken down into 4 categories. So strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. For the first 2 categories, you are going to mainly want to focus on internal factors of your business. So consider, for example, the talent on your team. Maybe you have a very solid team already assembled, and this could be a key strength for your business. Or you're still missing some key positions, and this would then be considered a weakness for your business. Also, look at your business's financial performance, your product lines, your customer base. Also take a look at your supply chain and consider that when looking at strengths and weaknesses for your business. Strengths are, of course, things that your company does well, advantages that it has over the competition, and these are important to identify to firstly ensure that you're capitalizing on those strengths and using them to grow the business. And secondly, to ensure that you're able to articulate and communicate those strengths to others, such as customers, employees, or potential investors. Weaknesses, on the other hand, are areas that your business needs improvement on. Your weaknesses are also necessary to identify, as it is difficult to improve something that you haven't identified or aren't monitoring. It's also important to identify weaknesses so that you can address them in conversation with potential investors. So while your strengths will help you explain why your company will succeed, investors are going to be examining the weaknesses of your business. So by addressing these weaknesses up front, along with the steps that you're taking to counteract them, this shows that you're aware of your business's weak points and are proactively working to improve upon them. Looking at the second 2 categories, opportunities and threats, these refer mainly to external factors, so things outside of your business that are happening, for example, in the market. For these 2 categories, it's useful to refer to the acronym PESTEL, which stands for political, economic, social, technological, environmental, and legal. So these are 6 areas that you'll want to go through and consider how each of them could present opportunities and threats to your business. Opportunities are excellent ways to identify where your business can grow, as well as what are the outside factors supporting your business's success. This is useful for your own planning and to ensure that you're capitalizing on all the possible opportunities in the market. Threats, on the other hand, are external factors that could negatively affect your business. So again, consider the political or environmental situation in the country you operate in. Maybe there's a technological innovation that could disrupt your current business model. So just as with weaknesses, it is important to address threats up front so that you can work to mitigate those risks wherever possible. So now let's take a look at how this is used in practice. So looking at the next slide, we have an example company here, and this company sustainably harvests an all-natural, energy-boosting fruit to produce frozen smoothie mixes and other products. Its products are already available in over 12,000 locations in the US, and it's purchasing this fruit from a large base of local suppliers in Peru. These suppliers are maintaining biodiverse, certified organic agroforestry systems in the Peruvian rainforest. So as you can see from its sales levels, the company has successfully transitioned from being what we call a first mover, so being one of the first to bring this fruit to the US market, to now being a market leader in this area. What the company now needs is more capital to expand its operations and take advantage of this growing market in unique beverages that they're seeing. So the company is fundraising to actually be able to acquire a local leader in Peru, and this is part of the company's strategy to achieve greater profitability and gain a better foothold in the Latin American market. This is all part of the company's broader strategy to potentially be acquired themselves by a larger food and beverage company in the future. As part of their preparation for approaching investors, the company has put together a SWOT analysis to identify their current context. So let's take a look first at the internal factors. Looking at the strengths, this company is one of the leading brands in the market, and it also excels at market and product development. So those are two strengths that it will want to highlight. As I mentioned earlier, it's also useful to look at your process and supply chain. So, for example, for our company, they have an established relationship with their suppliers, and they've really refined their harvesting and processing systems. This is a strong competitive advantage for our company because it makes it more difficult for newcomers to come in and quickly copy the company's model. Another strength for the company is its management team. It has a strong management team, and the company might consider how they can highlight this and take advantage of that strength. Not on the SWOT analysis for our company, but another area you'll want to consider is your existing governance and investor base. So as your company grows, developing a strong board of directors will be a key asset to the company. Committed investors can also provide important expertise to your business. So both things to consider whether those would be strengths or weaknesses for your business. Strengths can also relate to the company's interaction with its stakeholders. So for our example company, its operations support the sustainable economic development of these local communities in the Peruvian Amazon. These values are also verified by the company's fair trade certifications and by its organic certifications. So it also is, encouraging the sustainable use of that natural resource. So as you consider the strengths of your green business, be sure to also analyze and include the positive impact that it has on its stakeholders, especially if this helps to differentiate you from the competition. For the company's weaknesses, the first one identified there is the company's financial performance. So it has successfully built a customer base and gained sales, but its margins still need improvement and it's losing money each year. That's something that potential investors will likely ask about. So it's important for the company to identify this weakness so that it can address it. For the company's expansion plan, so its plan to acquire that local leader in Peru, integrating a new company into its normal operations can present challenges internally. This expansion plan also requires funding, so those are both weaknesses related to this expansion plan that it will want to consider. Finally, as the company grows, it is going to need to expand its supply of raw material. So as this company was founded on the idea of sustainably harvesting this fruit, it has to be careful that it does not put pressure on its suppliers to begin unsustainable practices to meet rising demand for this raw material. So this vulnerability of supply is something that it is going to have to watch carefully. All of these weaknesses are aspects that potential investors will likely ask about and will consider. So by identifying them outright, the company can then openly discuss the actions that it's taking to grow its margins or the plan that it has developed to smoothly integrate this new local leader into its current operations. It's also important to identify your weaknesses to then be able to internally take action and monitor their improvement. Now, if we move on to the next slide, we can see the company's second half of its SWOT analysis for opportunities and threats. The first opportunity that the company has identified is the growing market for their product, so specifically unique energy drinks and products that come from the Amazon. That's an area that they may consider new products to take advantage of this trend in the market. They also see an opportunity in their expansion in the region with this local leader. So that will help them to grow their market share and gain further brand recognition in Latin America. Another opportunity identified was interest from larger industry players. So as they're gaining brand recognition, there is the opportunity for themselves to be acquired by a larger food and beverage company. This would be a huge opportunity for the company to expand their capabilities and their reach. So these opportunities are important to identify to be able to articulate them to potential investors, as well as to ensure that you're taking advantage of all of these opportunities. So are you following all the market trends for your products? Is there another area that you could be taking advantage of? Should you alter your marketing slightly to make sure you are capitalizing on all of these trends? Looking finally at threats to the business. So the first one we have there is agricultural risk. This is something to consider, especially with food-related businesses and supply chains. So you may face weather-related challenges or diseases. So how is the company mitigating those risks? Maybe you or your suppliers have crop insurance or systems in place to reduce the risk of disease. Those are things to consider. Currency risk is also a potential issue. If the country's local currency depreciates considerably, it is going to make foreign currency loans more expensive to repay. In the case of our example company, most of its revenues are in US dollars, which helps to mitigate that risk. Country risk is the next one listed here. So what is the political and regulatory situation like in your country of operation, as well as in the country of operation for your suppliers, if those are different? So in the case of our company, trade relations between Peru and the US have an important impact on the company's operations. So that is something that is going to want to constantly monitor. The company also recognizes that it faces intense market competition in the food and beverage space. Although it's a leading brand, it is going to have to continuously work to innovate to mitigate that threat that new brands will come in to take some of its market position. The final threat on here is raw material price fluctuations. So again, largely out of the control of our company for the most part. However, it is important for the company to analyze how that could potentially affect its business and have plans in place for fluctuations in price for its raw materials. So that is a summary of our company's SWOT analysis. This isn't an exhaustive list for our company, but I've highlighted some key examples of the areas that the company is evaluating. This can be an ongoing process. So your SWOT analysis will change as your context changes within your business and as the market changes. Your SWOT analysis when you first launch your business, for example, will likely be very different than one a few years down the road. So it could be beneficial to update this on a regular basis to evaluate how your context has changed and how your business can best adapt to that. That's all I have for you on a SWOT analysis today. Thanks so much.